So I was going to make a super serious video on the origin of language, but the more I researched, the more I realized that language makes no sense. So with that being said, this video won't be as serious as some of my other ones. All of it really is just my opinion, so sit back, relax, and don't take things too seriously. Words need to be practical. The whole point of language is to be able to send and receive information without losing any of the meaning in the process. Essentially, one person moves their mouth to make sound, another person hears that sound, and then associates the meaning to it based on the way the sound sounded. So it sounds really simple, right? If it wasn't such a normal thing for humans to do, we would probably think of talking more like telepathy than anything else. But I'm sidetracking, so let's get back to the point. Like I said, words need to be practical. Anything that isn't practical serves as a hindrance to whoever wants to use it. One of such hindrances is long words. Now, there isn't anything inherently wrong with having long words. There are only a finite number of consonant and vowel sounds we can make using the English language, and so it makes sense to have a varied number of characters in a word to avoid too many of them sounding the same. The problems arise, however, when we talk about ridiculously long words. For example, words that span over 20 characters long. Here are some of them, and chances are you don't recognize any of them. Well, of course you don't, because they're so uselessly long that it defeats its entire purpose. Okay, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there is a justified reason for these words to be so long. Perhaps they have some really deep and important meaning that can only be said with those specific characters. Alright, let's see. What does this word mean? Hyperdolichocephalic. And it means having a very long, narrow head with a cephalic index of less than 70. Now look, I'm no linguist, but I think it should be said that if the definition of your word can be summarized in less characters than the word itself, perhaps the existence of it is a bit redundant, wouldn't you think? Now, here's the thing. It's not like we've run out of shorter words to use. I mean, if you have the opportunity to name something, you can name it whatever you want. Heck, you can name it something that already exists. So why name it that long? Alright, maybe I'm cherry-picking specific examples that prove my point. Let's go deeper. I mean, I really doubt that word is even used, perhaps occasionally in a scientific discussion, but anywhere else is unlikely. Okay, what about place names? I imagine those would be said quite often. And never mind. Look, I don't want to sound culturally insensitive, seeing as I don't speak the languages that these places are named in, but look, come on, having a name that long just doesn't make sense, regardless of where you're from or what language you speak. Say you're put into an oddly specific scenario where you are low on time and are having to convey the information of your whereabouts really quickly. What would you do then? You see, long words are kind of like bad analogies. They usually are overcomplicated and leave the person trying to understand it without meaning. See, here's the thing. Having a long name defeats the purpose of having a name at all. What good is a word that is so difficult to say and write that it is never said or written? Now, this could be a good place to start discussing the philosophy behind words, language, and meaning, but that's a video for another day, and besides, this video is on how I think language makes no sense. Sometimes, yeah, kind of. Now, I'm not done yet because I think I found a word so massive, so enormous, that it makes all of the others pale in comparison. Here we go.
Глицил, аманил, фенилаланил, валил, пролил, фенилаланил, валил, трианил, лицил, глицил, аспартил, пролил, глицил, излицил, глутамил, глутаминил, сирил, лицил, лизил, излицил, аспартил.
So yes, this word is widely considered to be the longest word in any language. It isn't in a dictionary, nor is it really a word, but more the scientific name for titin, a protein found in humans. If you ask me, it just looks like what you get when you fall asleep on your keyboard for a few minutes, but sure, call it a word. Now call me a hater, but this has to be one of the most useless, the most useless word ever. But I kind of like it, to be honest. I like the fact that this sort of word exists. Here's the thing, you see, since pretty much anyone can slap a bunch of letters together and call it a word, I want to do the same. I want to, using all that we've learned today, create the most useless, worst word ever. The most nonsensical word, if you like. A word that perfectly epitomizes everything I feel about long words. I want to call it something perfect. How about hippopotamonstrous quapidelophobia? Wait, what? That's an actual word? Oh, Okay, so this video is supposed to be about language, and yet all I've been talking about is words, predominantly English words. That is about to change right now, but before that, let's play a little game. I'm going to flash two pictures on the screen. One of them is of a male and the other is of a female, and I want you to try and guess which one is which. Sounds easy, right? Okay, let's begin. Right, not bad, you got that one correct. I'm going to flash up two more and see how well you do. Well done, that's correct again. We got one more left. Well, let's see. What's that? Having trouble identifying which is which? Well, welcome to the world of grammatical genders. There are a lot of languages that have genders for nouns. English is not one of those languages. In English, we have the word it, which refers to something with no gender, like a lamppost or a fridge. So having genders for objects confuses pretty much every English speaker trying to learn another language, and it really makes no sense. Sure, it's easy for an outsider like me to hit on masculine and feminine words, but seriously, why have it? Why is it that a bowl is masculine and a table is feminine? Is there a classification to it? Perhaps some sort of a feature that decides if that object is of that gender? I just find it a bit hilarious that someone could look at a random mundane object like a cup and say, yup, that's a girl. It's just frustrating having to memorize which is which, and in the end, it usually doesn't provide anything to the conversation. Okay, maybe I'm being a bit too harsh, but it just seems so unjustified to have genders for random stuff like paper clips. In all fairness though, English does have some gendered objects. Generally when dealing with vehicles like ships or cars, the captain or owner of the vehicle might refer to it as a she. My best guess for this is that the owners of ships and cars feel so attached to their vehicles that they refer to them as if they are alive, but I really don't know. Don't think English is without its faults, however, because it really isn't. Pretty much every rule in English is broken, both when talking about spelling and punctuation. And on top of that, we have some of the worst spelt words ever. Imagine you're an English second language speaker and you come across this word over here. Now, knowing what you do, you'd probably pronounce that word like colonel. And you'd be completely wrong because for some reason that word is pronounced colonel. What? On top of that, you have letters that aren't even said. Silent letters. Words like night and knife, island and isle are pronounced nothing like how they're spelt. And if you're in the mood for confusing yourself even more, try spelling zucchini, or try rhythm, the longest word without a vowel. And remember that rule, I before E except after C, where there are a bunch of words that couldn't care less about which letter is supposed to go first. All of that coupled with the fact that phrases like long time no see, which literally makes no grammatical sense, and the phrase buffalo, 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 which does actually make sense, leads me to believe that language is really weird. W-E, I before E except after C. Weird. But really, that's what makes it so brilliant. Unconventionally long words. Masculine and feminine nouns, weird spellings, and broken rules, all of these things make language so beautiful. It's kind of amazing, to be honest, that despite its flaws, despite its nonsensical nature, despite all of that and everything being against us, it is able to do something very special. Which really brings me to the title of the video. Language makes no sense. By that I really mean language isn't a sense like smell or touch, but it makes us feel. We can feel sad and happy based solely on what we hear. It influences us in ways like no other. Think of the greatest speeches. Think of some of the most powerful people. Think about all the social movements, all the people who do good by saying good. Think about what they all have in common. Language. It is the meaning that we take from it that makes it so important. What it says about us as a species is that we're willing to share. We're willing to share ideas, compliments, information, love, and other things. And while we may all speak different languages and all come from different backgrounds and all subscribe to different faiths, at least we can all agree that kernel should be spelt differently. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching.
Under the forest canopy, how am I supposed to get this fire to light? Put my tent up in the dark, but I'm sleeping alone. Been thinking of you, baby, but do you think of me at all? No, I've been laughing at clouds that singing in the rain. You really got to scream and shout when you're singing in the rain, yeah. Long weekend gonna get gone, gonna be free to sing another silly love song about this crazy weather and me. Stars glisten in the blue and the black filament. She got a letter with my name on that I never sent.